Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec. We're going to take a quick look at some more people's aquariums today, and I wanted to just do another one of these videos and maybe make a quick look. I've still got a lot of aquariums to show. Of course, at the end of this week on my Sunday video, I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a look at this thing behind me. This aquarium back here. That's as far as I'm going to show you right now. But we'll be doing the hardscape for that. Of course, I've already done everything, the hardscape and the planting. But I broke that video up in two parts. We'll do a hardscape one, and then a planting one. And it came out great. It looked good, like right from day one. So I'm really hopeful that it's going to be a great tank. And down here on the other side, of course, we've got the tiki tank. Look over here. Okay, so we got the tiki tank. The Tiki Island tank. Of course, the waterfall has failed, and this was kind of expected. I wasn't sure how long that thing would actually work out, but right now I'm growing out some baby endlers. If you saw my last video, maybe I think I showed them on there. They're really some really pretty fish that have been coming out of this little batch, and I'm excited to have more. These are some babies I pulled from the 5-gallon. I put them in there. I've also got one pencil fish that was kind of getting beaten up in here, and I decided to add him into this tank as well. Now, although the waterfall has failed, it is I pulled out the waterfall mechanisms and I kind of reformed the rocks a little bit in there. The plants are growing really well. Straight on view is a little bit neater than it is on the side, and I think it's going to be cool. I think it's going to be a really cool tank, and I can't wait to see what it looks like when these plants really start to grow. But let's get right into other people's tanks. I decided to just kind of leave the show me what you got name just until I get through these, or people get sick of seeing them. These videos are not as popular as my other videos, but I want to do them anyway because you guys were so enthusiastic about sending me stuff. I mean, I'm still on two submissions from 2 months ago going in. So yeah, feel free to send stuff in. There's information popping up down below about how to send it in, but I cannot guarantee that I'll get to your tanks before this show kind of runs its course and people get sick of seeing it. For now, it's like extra weekly content, just a little something extra during the week to show you guys. And without further ado, let's look at some tanks. All right, so Carolyn here, she wrote a pretty long letter. Basically, she is a volunteer, or she volunteered to take home fish from work. Basically, they maintain a couple of tanks that they keep for educational purposes, for schools and stuff like that. Kindergarten, I believe, is what she said, and they got guppies, mystery snails, and ghost shrimps. And she's taking care of them, I guess, while school's out because of the coof. It's actually a pretty long email here. And there's a couple of things. Let's see. It looks like she had a couple of questions, too. So let me take a look at that. Have you had crypts this big before? Yes. Crypts can get really enormous. She's a little unsure, and she thinks that maybe the plants are inhibiting the use of the tank for the fish. I'm scared to try it to alter this tank significantly, though it feels a little magical to me. The crypts, for me with the crypts, I have to trim them back quite often. It's just kind of something they will take over. They'll take over and they'll fill up an entire aquarium. Look at my 27-gallon cube downstairs as a good example of what will happen as it goes amok. Basically, the other question she had, and this is actually a few months ago, so I'm not sure what she's done at this point, but she's added some extra filters, probably from the school tanks and stuff, to kind of help with these things. Usually, it takes about a month or two for it to level out. She says she's nervous about removing them. What I would tell you is that just do it slow. Maybe do one of the bubblers out first, and then the other one, especially if you got other filters in there that are capacity for that tank, could really take care of it, and you haven't overloaded it to a great extent. The third question is basically, do you know low-cost lights I could purchase for the 20 long tanks? Uh, yes. In fact, I would go with, or something to consider anyway, is perhaps go with the some of the spotlights. If you find like a full spectrum LED that usually covers like a cool white LED, that hits about the right temperature ranges and spectrums for light that will grow plants. And you can find some really inexpensive kind of like brighter lights that way. The other thing, like the cheapest thing that works super effectively, is the plant growing compact fluorescent bulbs. They're not as popular, as flashy as they were as they were a couple of years ago when they were like the main thing that people used, but they still work extremely well. And a little trip to Home Depot or Lowe's, and you could probably piece a little kit together for your aquarium for pretty inexpensively, and they work great. And the last question she has there is any advice on tank maintenance in a house full of rugs and hardwood floors? You're just gonna have to be careful, I guess. Lots and lots of buckets. Have at least 3 more buckets around than you think you'll need, and it'll work out. So the main thing is like you're throwing wet stuff, you're pulling wet stuff out either to a garbage can, like when you're trimming plants, or just to put wet things so that they don't end up on the carpet or the. I've ruined the carpet here upstairs in this room, not completely ruined, but it's I've got some bad spots in there that are just not going to come out. Downstairs, I ended up changing out the entire floor and putting tile in, and no small part of that reasoning was for the aquariums and to make that whole thing easier. And I got to tell you, my life downstairs with the tiles on the aquariums, it's just really changed things. Like I can pull a wet arm out of the aquarium and it just drips onto the floor, and it doesn't matter. So that's and boy, that's made a huge difference. So okay, Carolyn, let's take a look at those tanks. All right. This looks like a cool little tank. I see what you got going on there. Oh, I really like that. That must be the crypts you were talking about. They are definitely starting to absorb all the swimming area in there. It's quite mysterious. I like how there's like seems to be almost a hard line like right there where it separates between this and the other plant, which is another neat plant. What is that? It's like dwarf hairgrass maybe or something like that. A little plant coming out the top too. Yeah, you can trim that back. I see why you like it so much. It's pretty neat, and to some degree, like the fish could swim in between those a little bit, but man, that's thick. That's really thick. And probably if you don't trim it, what will happen next is some of the stuff in the middle of that, in the very darkest regions of that, will start to die out. It might cause you some problems. And here's another tank, probably transplanted plants from this tank to down here, is my guess. But and the little bubblers and stuff that she was talking about, these are great little in-tank filters, little box filters we call them. Yeah, well, I would just if you're wanting to get rid of those, it was a great idea to throw them in, like as you brought your extra livestock home to kind of keep it safe while you're home with those fish. That's great. But if you want to take them out, I would just maybe take one out, measure your water after a day or two. If it doesn't seem like it's made a huge difference, go ahead and take the other one out, and again, measure the water for a little bit. But or you could also add some bacteria, like if you had some active bacteria in a bottle, you could always add some of that to kind of help things out too. All right, last couple of tanks here. Oh, look at that decoration. That's pretty gnarly. I like it. Sort of like a deadly Mount Rushmore or something. Cool little simple planted tanks. That's all you need to keep some healthy fish. And oh, what a groovy little tank. That's a neat little small one. How neat. Oh, I like that snail. It looks like a pretty cool little red snail down there. And the plants and stuff. That's nice. That's a neat little tank. Thank you very much, Carolyn. That was a really cool look around your place. Next one is from Angie, and this is her dirted 29-gallon tank. Let's see. She got some stems floating. Okay. Let's take a look. Ooh, that's neat. I like the way that the wood's just kind of draped across there. Very nice. Very good start. It's a fairly new tank. Well, I don't know. Some of this has grown in a little bit. Looks like she said she's floating some new plants there at the top. That looks like a nice, really nice little 29-gallon tank. I like it. Good job. Okay, so the next person here has a YouTube channel. And there it is. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. He breeds wild bettas. Looks like a couple of different types of wild bettas. I have two 40-gallon breeders, one for the bettas and one for the other fish. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, I'm going to make this my thumbnail, so here we go. That is hilarious. That is a really funny picture of his betta. Very neat, very neat. Just a simple little tank for breeding stuff. Well, bettas are really interesting. I haven't ever had any. I get pretty much like the generic pretty ones. And not so much these crazy ones like that. Very cool. Thanks for sending in your stuff. Okay, this next one is from Rachel. And she says, these are two of my tanks. The first one is my 10-gallon betta tank. His name is Louie. Has 4 coolie loaches and some shrimp too. Wow, that's a pretty little aquarium. I love the simplicity of a neat little 10-gallon tank. Look at all the snails in the bottom of that. Woo! You might need to set up a little pea buffer tank and then make this a food source for them or something like that. Neat. And Louie's a handsome little guy there. I like it. That's a cool tank. I like it. Very simple. Oh, here's a little coolie loach poking its head out. I love the stripy ones. The stripy ones are my favorite ones. And the bigger tank with the angels. It looks like some cardinal tetras, maybe? Yeah, cardinal tetras and 2 Bolivian rams. And a ton of snails and shrimp. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Bolivian rams are neat. Kind of like bigger, less colorful German rams, which are another of my favorite fish. That's a nice little simple setup. Very attractive. I've only had aquariums for over a year and have got good inspiration for my videos. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Those are some great looking tanks. Okay, we got another one in here. And it says name to use is Paints 207, 2007. So I won't say the name that's on the email. Maybe that's in it. They don't mention if that's a Instagram or whatever, but there we go. It's a Spec 16 housing guppies, ember tetras, clown, pleco, and a couple of autos. Any advice on different light that fits the stock hood? This thing seems to be breeding ground for cyano. Next step is to try different lighting. Well, I can tell you this. There are a lot of different lights that will fit in the little slot in the lid. Then, of course, you can take the lid off and then fit even more different types of lights on. But I personally have never had a problem with cyanobacteria, especially from that light in particular. And mine's close to a window, which is kind of sort of double jeopardy. So in my Spec 16, I've never had any sort of issue with that. So I'm not sure why you are. Lots of Rotalia and stuff in there. I've kind of stopped using Rotalia. Like I have a little bit. Like I refuse to let any of my plants completely die out. But I definitely have some that aren't my favorites anymore. But it looks like you got a good start there. I'm not sure what to tell you about the cyanobacteria. I do know in the Spec 16, you do have to clean that filter out, the pump that it uses out quite a bit to keep the flow going the way it should. I, in fact, replaced my entire pump with just a smaller one. And it works better than what was in there. The little foam piece that kind of filters out the water that goes in, I think is unnecessary, and I think it clogs really fast. If you want to defeat cyanobacteria, one, go ahead and just get some ChemiClean and put it in there. And in most cases, if your tank's cycled and everything else is all right, one treatment with that ChemiClean is going to keep that cyanobacteria at bay and kill it out completely. So I would definitely try that before I spend a lot of money on another light. Okay, our next one's from Steven. Steven's a paramedic working in Chicago. And he's been seeing this COVID stuff firsthand. I feel for you, Steven. I feel for you, man. Okay, he has 3 planted tanks in this apartment. Can't wait to get a bigger place so I can get more. Yeah, I hear you. I will try to get the order right, but I have a Marineland glass 5-gallon that I inspired him to get. So there's this cool little 5-gallon tank, and that is a neat looking little aquarium. I like it. I really like that. And of course we've got some Java moss. It looks like you've got some crypt Wendetti, probably like the bronzy colored one. I'm not sure if that's another crypt or some abuse perhaps down there. The little wavy edges of the leaves make me think it might be abuse, but it could be probably something else. I'm probably wrong on that. Not sure what this dark one is. Oh, that might be another crypt. Sometimes they come in that way. Those crypts, okay, so if your tank does well for a long period of time, those crypts will encompass the entire tank. That's kind of how they roll. They just take it all over. But boy, you've got a great start with that hair grass. It is really hard to get this going and keep it looking nice without a bunch of algae. Of course, he's not overstocked at this point. Just got 3 little babies up there. They're going to grow kind of slow. I'll warn you that. They'll grow kind of slow in a 5-gallon tank like that. But you got some shrimp there to kind of help out with the algae. The second one is a 29-gallon. His oldest tank is 6 years. The jungle valve he put in there has been taking off. How do I trim the valve? I don't know. I pulled all mine out. I got sick of it. Like taking over everything, and I just pulled it out. So I'm probably not the best for advice on that, but it does look like a cool looking tank. I like it. The last one is my 75-gallon tank. It's dirt planted with Fluval stratum and Eco Complete mix on top. Okay. It's been growing like crazy, but I'm not happy with the brightness. It feels a little dim. What is your opinion? I don't know. It looks pretty bright to me. I can see pretty well in there. You got your little carpet going on either side. This stuff tends to want to take over too. This Monte Carlo, I think, is what it is. Boy, those plants in the back are a nice pink color. That looks really nice. That's more of this Val. I bet you've got Val all over the place because that stuff grows like crazy. That's really neat. I don't know. It doesn't look too dim to me, at least in this photograph. Photographs can be very, very deceiving. The telling sign will be if this stuff grows sideways, like it looks like it's starting to right here. If you're seeing a lot of that, then you probably have enough light in there. If it gets enough light, it'll grow sideways across the bottom. If it doesn't, it gets real stringy and kind of comes up towards the top. Thanks for your submission. Please stay safe out there, Stephen. People like you really make a big difference in times of crisis like now. This next one's from Kurt. And Kurt says, I just set my first Fluval Flex 15 this week. Looking good so far. Oh, yes. Wow, that does look good. Very nice aquascape. I like it. You've got a real centered aquascape. I like how you've completely kind of filled in the background. These foreground plants, looks like cryptparv. I hope that they grow for you. This light was a little dim for me, and I wasn't able to grow them. They take forever. Like literally, it could literally take years for them to really grow. So whenever I put these in, I put like 3 times more than I normally would for that. But with a lot of effort, and I say a lot of effort because these stem plants and stuff are going to require a lot of trimming, and they're already up at the top, so you'll be trimming within a few weeks, and hopefully they just keep growing and doing well for you. I think that this is a neat looking tank. It's a great beginning, and I wish you the best of luck. That's a cool tank. I enjoyed mine. I just took mine down. I think I got about 3 aquariums worth of planting out of it, though. So I'm excited to show you guys what all came out of that tank. Okay, we got one here from Patrick. Let's see. He has a 180-gallon tank. Has 2 DIY sump filters. The background is from Aqua Decor. The main occupants are, oh my god, I can't pronounce the first one, and a red Severum and an adolescent red shoulder Severum. There are 5 tiger silver dollars and about 20 Congo tetras to round out the tank. Would love to get your feedback. I'd also love to add some live plants sometime. Not sure they would survive. I don't think so. Those fish would more than likely rip that thing apart. There are some really cool fake plants, though. And when you can't have real plants, fake plants are acceptable. Aqua Decor background, of course, as always, looks spectacular. It really takes these things and makes it look like a museum piece. I really love mine. And the fish you've got in there look really cool. Those are some neat looking fish. Very, very cool. Oh, look at that. Those guys are cool. So if you can't have, sometimes you can't have plants because you like the fish you like, and those fish like to rip things out of the ground. This is a fish that I wanted to get really bad for my 210, and I was advised by a number of people that they'll rip out plants. They'll rip out plants pretty much for sure. So that's why I didn't get any of the Severums. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong too, but I don't care. Thank you very much. That's a beautiful tank. I appreciate your submission. Okay, we've got one here from Justin. Let's see. Likes watching my videos. Bought a Spec 3 after watching the Fluval EB unboxing. I've kept it for the past year and a half. Love to show it off, and I'm also open to feedback too. The pictures should be attached below. I'm also on Instagram at Justin A732. Well, there's some tank pictures mixed in with pictures of other pics, roller derby things. Oh, cool. I love roller derby. Roller derby were some of my earliest Pecktec videos. If you sort my videos by uploads, then go way to the bottom, you'll see that I started out as a roller derby channel. I actually interviewed all the local girls and stuff, and I shot a couple of matches. They're not great videos, but all part of my Pecktec history. And yes, oh yes, the Fluval Spec 2.6 gallon. It looks like you've done a good job with it. This hydrocotyl will grow like crazy. You have to kind of keep it in check. It goes all over the place, but boy is it cool, and it's great. It's a great scale for that particular tank. Looks like you got these little guys too. Those things, I love this plant right here. That for some reason it's a lily. It's a type of lily. It's kind of escaping me. I get kind of on the spot with these things, and I forget the names of things. But I like that particular type of lily too. It looks like a cool little tank. I really like it. Awesome. That looks great, Justin. Thanks for sending that in. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap this up with one from Ben, who sent in his megaflex. And boy, I tell you, these things are that is by far my favorite aquarium, is the megaflex from Fluval. He had some other comments too. Let me check that out real quick. Um, here's my planted megaflex all the way from Old England. I want to set up CO2, but it's a minefield, and with all the different price points, help. Also notice that my hydrocotyl is escaping the raised bed. That stuff will not stay planted. No, that stuff really wants to wander around. Hydrocotyl is kind of famous for that. Now, let's take a closer look, and then we'll talk about the CO2 and stuff. Let's go start over here, and we'll kind of pan across. I gotta say, that tree that you got going out the top is amazing. I love this. That is so neat. And I like the I like the way you've got all the little branches going around and stuff too. That's probably, I don't know if that's part of it, or you shoved another one in there that was the same color, but that looks really great. And we've got the stonework that you've used there, got all that dragon stone. The Anubias is awesome, just kind of shoved in there. I love Anubias, and it works great for that kind of setup. But that's just really captures your attention, that because it looks like you're seeing half of it. Like there's a thing we study in an art class called the Gestalt theory, where something kind of leaves your point of view, and your brain fills in the rest of the picture. So in your mind, you can see that there's a tree coming out the top of there, even though it's just a little log cut right there at the top. Also, there are lots and lots of good plants in here, lots of good use of dragonstone and stuff like that. I really like it. You got some other little plants and stuff going in here. Looks like you've got the start of maybe a little bit of a carpet going down there at the bottom. I like it, man. I think that's really cool. I don't see any fish in there yet. Maybe it's too new. But I think it's, I do definitely see a snail hanging out there in the corner. Okay, so full disclosure, the first time I shot this video, the people next door started mowing their lawn. I got real distracted, so I did not answer the CO2 comment that goes along with this beautiful tank. And I've made a number of videos about using CO2 and the kind of the pitfalls with it. Really with CO2, if you don't have a lot of money, look into the DIY stuff. It does work. It really does work. And it's really inexpensive to kind of make it yourself. But like all things, it's also kind of a pain to do it yourself. I mean, that you've got to keep up with the potency of it to make sure you're getting enough. You're definitely going to want maybe an in-tank little meter or something to keep track of it. And you have to be careful not to do too much or really get it going too hard. When I tried DIY CO2, I kind of overdid it a bit, like I tend to do. And I put way too much CO2 in and probably killed a few fish that way. Not a lot, but I had a rummy-nosed tetra that I basically turned white. Like after that incident, he had turned white and never turned the right color again. So that was really bizarre. And I had a couple of fish die. Not a lot, but just a few. But yeah, and because of that, I haven't been real anxious to venture back into it. I've talked about doing it more than a few times on the channel, but I have not actually gone in and done CO2 again. I actually only have CO2 going on the one tank back here, the 20-gallon, and it seems to do a really great job. I've got the little Milwaukee regulator and I think it's a half-pound CO2 tank. What I recommend is just if you're going to do it, go ahead and get a nice setup. Make a highly rated regulator with the bubble counter and the two gauges and stuff like that, and get a really good regulator. Don't spend a lot of money on the tank. In fact, find a company that does the CO2 and just go there and get it. Like, don't buy one. Don't buy a new one, because the way it works with the CO2 is you go and you trade in your tank for another tank, and they just hand you another one. So you get a nice, shiny new one and take it there. You're just going to get a cruddy looking one back. So don't do anything to personalize it. No stickers, nothing like that. Just go to the place that gives you the CO2 and go ahead and get your initial tank. Kind of like when you do, like here when we do propane for our grills. Your grill, no grill comes with a propane tank. You go and your first tank, it costs a little bit more. Then after that, you're just trading them in. And the same way is going to be for your CO2 tank. So don't even bother with the tank yet. Just go to the place that rents it and get your initial tank and then go backwards from there. But go ahead and spend some money on that regulator and realize that a lot of plants don't really need CO2. So make sure that, if you're going to do CO2, you didn't mention if you got the double lights in there, you definitely want to have enough lights to really utilize that CO2 and get everything out of it, really get the full advantage from that CO2. It'll make a big difference in the long run. So hopefully that was helpful. I know that's kind of a slap shot around the world advice on that. But if you have any specific questions, feel free to write me back. I'd be happy to answer. But wow, what a great looking tank. That is very, very cool, Ben. I really appreciate it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just wrap it up there. Just kind of cut the video a little short, not too short, but I got a lot of noise going on in the background because people are always mowing the lawn. So I gotta shoot in between lawn mowings all the time. We'll be back this week where we take a look at this new tank. Here's another quick peek. I'm gonna do all the hardscape for it, and it'll be interesting. I think it'll be cool. We're gonna hardscape it this week, or maybe plant it next week, and then we'll start working on these terrariums and stuff, kind of in between. All that's coming up real soon. Until next time, follow your bliss, keep a clean tank, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. I'm going to go back for something for the beginning. Hello, this is Sean. Hello? Frickin' telemarketers calling right in the middle of my video.